For those of you who are unaware of what's going on in California, they have just repatriated over 100 virus reservoirs from China to the United States. I mean, the news is calling them U.S. citizens, and they are. But in essence, operationally, they are virus reservoirs. That's why they have taken them to March Air Reserve Base in California for quote-unquote screenings. But here's the problem. Here's what they're not telling you about this. There is no way to test for latent infection of coronaviruses. And just to be clear, the current infection is called the novel, N-O-V-E-L, coronavirus. Coronaviruses have been around since the time of the pyramids. They're not new. The news keeps calling it coronavirus, coronavirus, coronavirus. It's that particular kind of virus has been around for a very long time. This is just a new incarnation of one that acts a great deal like HIV and Ebola in the sense that it can live inside what they call reservoirs in the body, undetectable. The reason that they are using HIV drugs and Ebola drugs to try to combat this is not to kill the infection. What those drugs do is they make the latent virus that's living dormant in cells express itself. Meaning it makes these drugs make the virus start to replicate. So it actually makes things worse, but it makes it easier to detect and then combat. That's what these drugs are designed to do. And that's why they're trying to use them in a last desperate hope to stop this thing. Because that's the problem with this particular version. You can get it. You can get it and not know you have it. You can get it, not know you have it, go be tested for it, and test negative for it. Just like the Ebola virus. Until it starts to express itself. And still, until you start to give off symptoms, you're not going to know. See, this is what I had talked about last year, this thing about airborne rabies. If rabies ever went airborne, that would be the end of the human race. Because the problem with rabies is once you start showing symptoms, you're dead. There is no cure for rabies. The reason most people who get rabies can be treated is because they get rabies from being bitten by some kind of an animal. So they're like, oh, I've been bitten. I should probably go get tested. And then they go get tested. They find it before it spreads. They treat you, and you're fine. If you don't know you have rabies, or if you don't know you've been bitten or infected, and you just start showing symptoms, goodbye. That's it. It's over. Same thing with this. Now, what can you do to protect yourself? I'm going to show you something, guys, that nobody's talking about. And the reason I brought this picture up is it has to do with other reservoirs being brought into this country from China. This virus can live in lizards. It can live in bats, it can live in snakes, it can live in all sorts of different animals. And who remembers all of the occasions where people have found frogs and bats and lizards in those bagged salads? Well, that's all you would need. I would recommend no one, under any circumstances from this point forward, eat anything fast food, any delivered pizza, anything from anybody. Anybody at all. Because all of these businesses use Cisco. Cisco is wholly owned by the Chinese. And they have been in trouble before. And I wanted to cover this. I know, still fighting a cold. All right, history. Cisco. For those of you that don't know who Cisco is, they are a large distributor of restaurant goods. food products, all sorts of things you would need to run a restaurant. Okay? They're huge, and they are owned by, Oshawa? I believe the name of the company is. But anyway, during the summer of 2013, California Department of Public Health investigated a total of 21 storage sheds that were never regulated and inspected. Food included overnight drop-offs of chicken, pork, beef, bacon, and milk. An investigative report by KNTV recorded food sitting in these sheds for up to 5 hours in temperatures as hot as 81 degrees Fahrenheit before the food was delivered to hotels and restaurants. And even employees in those restaurants said that those things would just be left set. So the reservoirs, the little frogs, little snakes, little bats, little all sorts of things, can get into this stuff and get the virus into it. And with the sloppy way they handle this stuff, it could get you very sick. I brought this up. This is a list of 10 commonly used foods made in China. Tilapia. Don't eat it, don't get it. Codfish. Chinese apple juice. Chinese restaurants use Chinese apple juice to make all sorts of sauces and different condiments and things. Processed mushrooms. I promise you this. I promise you, I don't care who the pizza delivery place is, they are using Chinese mushrooms because they're cheap. And that's the number one consideration in all restaurants. Controllable food costs. And even if you don't get mushrooms on your pizzas, this is what a make table looks like in a pizza place. All this stuff here, it all cross-contaminates literally immediately. If anyone out there who's ever worked in a pizza place, trust me, down in the comments, please share your horror stories. If you ever saw what went on in a Domino's, a Pizza Hut, you would never touch anything from those places ever again. It is horrific how they handle this stuff. See, this is the problem. That's why I use the term and let off with the term reservoir. There are all sorts of places this kind of virus can hide. This particular one they're talking about now can hide in humans for up to 14 days, undetectable. Meaning that it's in the RNA, it has not begun to express itself yet, and the human being holding it, there's no way to test for it. They don't have a temperature. They aren't sniffling, they aren't coughing. Yet. And then all it takes is time. Remember with the Ebola virus, it can live in the eyeballs. It can live in the testicles. It can live in all sorts of other body fluids they can't test for. I think it pretty much goes without saying. Do not even consider eating anything like sushi or sashimi. This is kind of a gross picture, but I think it's worth showing. This is one of those bag salads, and what you're looking at is the corpse of a frog. Here in Florida in 2017, people had gotten a bag salad, they dumped it out into the bowl, apparently they did it without washing it, that's all I can assume, and they began eating it and discovered that there was the corpse of a dead bat. That's a true story. You can look that one up. Vampire bats, before they bite, their saliva has anesthetic quality to it. So cattle, they sneak up to at night, and they use their tongue, and they put this anesthetic over the skin, and then their teeth are amazingly sharp, and they then quickly slice open the skin. The cow, the pig, the whatever, doesn't feel it, and then they sit there and just drink the blood from the cut. And these things are reservoirs for that virus. What's going on with this coronavirus? The big thing they're hiding is this. the reservoirs of this virus do not show symptoms. You can get it literally anywhere now. Which is why I think I started off with, what was the picture? Looks like I lost it. Here it is. As much as you possibly can, source your food locally. Is it going to be more expensive? Yep. It sure is. Are your kids going to be happy about it? Nope. But I'm serious. No Happy Meals, no Whoppers, no Zaxby's, no Chick-fil-A, nothing. Because every one of those restaurants, I promise you, has a Sysco delivery. This is going to be the biggest distributor of that virus, Sysco. Mushrooms, all sorts of fresh produce, frozen things that are supposed to be allegedly frozen that for a long time were not, that they refreeze. And I mean it. If it's any kind of a franchise, even Panera, if it's in a strip mall, it's a bad idea. Let's just leave it at that. Because these restaurants are slaved to this. I mean, the only restaurants that might be exempt, and I tell you what, it would be a rare one. It would be probably those super duper duper expensive ones. We have some in St. Augustine, Florida, that brag about this, that they absolutely have nothing that they get from anywhere other than here in Florida. All of their fish, all of their produce, their chicken, everything all comes from locally sourced places right here in the state. Same thing with the vegetables. And you can tell because sometimes they just run out and close. These small, tiny restaurants all through St. Augustine, they don't have a lot of storage space. The vast majority of them bring in everything that they're going to cook that morning. They make up everything, and once they're out, they're out. And that's how they run their business. Now, and they're not cheap, believe me. These are some of the most expensive restaurants in the region, but too many things can hold this virus. And probably the biggest thing that I would say right now, I'll say it again, do not, under any circumstances, frequent any fast food at all, Subway included. They get stuff from Sysco. You can even ask, just walk in, do you get deliveries from Sysco of any kind? If they say yes, just walk out and find someplace else to eat. I guess we're just going to have to go back to doing it the old-fashioned way and cooking at home. Clearly, no bagged salads. If you're going to get vegetables, I know they're more expensive, go with the organic ones. Very, very doubtful you're going to have any organic labeled produce or fruits that came from China. I mean, I'm sure somewhere there's going to be somebody that's going to prove me wrong about something, but the vast majority, I mean, if you're going to roll the dice, go with that. Local bakeries. But definitely especially with the Super Bowl coming up, no Domino's, no Little Caesars, no Five Star, no Papa John's, no Pizza Hut, nothing like this. It is asking for trouble. And like I said, you might get it. A week from now, you might get the sniffles. You might get a cold. I'm 99.9% sure the cough I have has to do with me going out in 35-degree rainy weather and exerting myself and getting hot and sweaty. It has nothing to do with, I still don't have a fever, so. Anyway, I will leave it there. But definitely pray for each other. Look up Sysco, stay away from this stuff. Chinese garlic, chicken, this plastic rice crap. anything that you see that says made in China, just stay away from. Just don't even risk it, because you just don't know. You don't know. And like I said, those of you out there that have worked in the food service industry, that have ever had to deal with a make table or what these guys do or how they handle it, it's just nauseating. It really is. So I guess I'll just leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.